Jonathan Gaythorne Hardy's notes, taken during his access to Green's diaries, suggest that the paedophile was sexually active until 1954, more than 10 years after he first met Kinsey.
What does the highlighted piece mean?
Yes. Well, you see, he may have done, but the thing is, Kinsey didn't use that information. It's quite possible that Green went on, in fact, I'm sure he did, went on having sex with everybody until then. But that was long after Kinsey had got the journals.
Kinsey's critics believe his involvement with Green was morally indefensible, especially because the paedophile was probably still sexually abusing children.
The only justification for defending Kinsey was that all this happened before. If Green was sexually abusing children to 1954, Kinsey's last book came out in 1953. That certainly would mean that all of that violence and all of that abuse was going on throughout the entire time Kinsey was collecting these data. Wouldn't it?
Green was not the only paedophile providing information to Kinsey.
We got them in prisons, a lot of them, because we had the prison records of these people. So we'd say, give us a list of everybody in San Quentin who's sent up on pedophilia charge, and we'd go after them. So we got a lot that way. Then there was also a pedophile organization in this country. They cooperated with us, and some of them who were not, of course, not incarcerated, they came and gave us information.
Not all of the pedophile information arriving at the Kinsey Institute in Indiana came from within America.
There was a man in Germany who was a pedophile, and he wrote Kinsey. And he was interested in information about pedophilia, and he offered his own case history. Of course, Kinsey couldn't go to Germany to get it, but he wrote him questions in a letter, and they carried on quite a correspondence. And we were learning some interesting things about pedophilia in Germany, you might say.
The pedophile was Dr. Fritz von Baljusek, a former senior Nazi Party official. Before the war, he had been a stormtrooper. During the war, he had commanded a ghetto in an occupied Polish town. During all this time, and in the years that followed, he sexually abused hundreds of pre-adolescent girls and boys. He recorded the details in pseudo-scientific diaries in which he claimed to have masturbated and penetrated the children to assist their sexual development. At Kinsey's request, von Baljusek sent his diaries to Indiana. But then one of his victims was murdered.
So the police were looking for pedophiles, and they ran across him and decided he was probably the murderer. And so as they went through his possessions, they found in his correspondence with Kinsey. So they said, aha, Kinsey must know all about this man. We've got to have Kinsey's testimony and whatever records this man sent to Kinsey. So they got Interpol, International Police on the thing. And they even involved the FBI and some other, and they put an enormous amount of pressure on Kinsey to reveal this guy's, this stuff he sent. And he was also keeping a sexual diary, and they wanted his diary badly. And Kinsey said, absolutely not. This is completely confidential, and you're not going to get it. We'll destroy it before we let you have it.
Von Baljusek was never charged with murder, but he pleaded guilty to sexually abusing more than 30 children. At his trial, the judge criticized Kinsey for failing to report such an active pedophile to the police. It is a criticism the Kinsey Institute rejects.
I think people have got to ask themselves the question, do they believe that research into sexuality should be done or should not be done? Particularly research into sexuality which might be, in some sense, illegal.
But if the cost potentially is more children at risk of abuse, can that cost be justified?
Consider the cost of remaining in ignorance. Unless we know about these behaviours, we'll be in a much worse position than if we have more information about them. That was Kinsey's view.
John Bancroft is adamant that Kinsey never did more than accept reports from paedophiles on their sexual activity.
Kinsey didn't ask anybody to carry out any particular form of sexual behaviour. He simply asked them to let him know of their experiences that they'd had.
But at von Balusek's trial, an exchange between the judge and the paedophile seemed to suggest otherwise. The judge said,
"I had the impression that you got to the children in order to impress Kinsey and to deliver him material."
And von Balusek replied,
"Kinsey himself asked me for that."
If the judge's impression was correct, and if von Balusek was telling the truth, it would be evidence of Kinsey's involvement in ongoing child sexual abuse.
It tells me that von Balusek, who was not a sex researcher, got his directions as to how to do the, quote, scientific part of the research from Dr. Kinsey, that he was directed.
Over the years, people have used their contacts with Kinsey in a variety of ways, and it's not surprising that if someone's being charged with an offence, if they can bring Kinsey's name in, they will do, in the hope that it might mitigate their case. But Kinsey was not responsible for what that man was doing, nor did he encourage it.
The key to resolving Kinsey's involvement with child sexual abuse is in von Balusek's diaries, but the Kinsey Institute refuses to release them. However, for more than 15 years, Kinsey appealed to people of all sexual orientations to send him information. In at least some of these appeals, he seemed prepared to give instructions on how to record their sexual activity.
Persons who have kept calendars or who are willing to begin keeping day-by-day calendars showing the source and frequency of their sexual outlet are urged to write to us for instructions.
So many people responded that the Kinsey Institute has never been able to catalogue their material, and today has no idea who sent in which diaries. But the Institute says it has long been expecting to hear from someone claiming to be a victim of Kinsey's paedophile correspondence. Esther White is the first person publicly to make this claim. Esther's family had a long-standing connection with Kinsey. Her grandfather attended Indiana University with him.